Hey everyone, this is Jaime Jo Wright here at MadLit Musings, and super happy to have my good friend Natalie Walters here. Hey Natalie.
Hey, Jamie Joe.
Oh,
Am I the only
you
one
are,
who calls you Jamie Joe?
no, some people do, but you always do the Jaime Jo. It's like it's got like a
It's a thing in our house, like if I'm like, Tony's like, who are you texting? And I'm like, Jamie Joe. And he's like, Jamie Joe. So in our house, you're
yeah,
Jamie Joe.
Jaime Jo. Yeah,
Jamie Joe.
nobody calls me that with that kind of inflection, but that's okay. I like it. I can leave that to the Walters family. I think it's great. Oh man, but you are almost my book launch day, sister, almost, but we're off by a week.
Yeah,
But
I
you
just
have,
had to come a week late,
yeah, what's with that?
make an
But that's all right.
entrance.
Need your own day. You didn't want to share it, I guess.
That's right.
But yeah, so you have Blind Trust, which is book 3 of the Snap Agency coming out.
hmm
So that's cool. And this is the last book in that trilogy, correct?
It is. It is
Yes.
the final book. It comes to a close. I'm sad. I'm trying not to think about it. Like people are
Oh
like, "Oh,
yeah.
I'm so sad." I'm like, "Don't talk about it. Stop talking about it." Like it's like it's okay. I think when you have these characters live in your brain for so long,
Right.
it feels to me like they're real. Like I
Yeah.
could walk in someplace and I could see these characters in real life. And
Hmm.
so to feel like I'm saying no to them or saying goodbye to them is
Yeah.
really sad.
Yeah. And then you start wondering about your own mental health at that point.
Yes. I mean,
It's sad to
I've
say goodbye to
stopped
people who
wondering
don't
about that
exist.
because I've just given in to the reality that
Okay, yeah.
it is what it is at this
I
point.
I'm just gonna hear voices for the rest of my life, and that's just how it goes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I would really like, I think about like, if I ever had to take a polygraph test and they were like, do you hear voices in your head? I would have to be like, well, yes.
Well,
And then they'd be like, what do they say to
describe.
you? They tell me stories about how they're like going to take over the country. They're going to kill people. I will not become a police officer anytime soon.
Natalie goes on every watch list in the world
Yes,
for
she's
her.
taken into a padded room. As long as they serve me meals, I'll be happy.
Right, why not? And you have a book to read, so if you
Yes,
don't, you can just read it in your head because they're still
right.
speaking to you.
All I would need, I could just do a wall, like all that white space. You could just write like stories on the
Oh,
walls. I
yeah.
mean,
Maybe they're totally like doing a disservice to certain people, and maybe they're
uh,
just authors that have been locked up
yeah,
for really bad
yeah,
reasons. But
yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
before we digress too much,
We're going down that rabbit trail.
woohoo, that was fun. So tell us a little bit about Blind Trust. This is the story of, I'm trying to remember the characters.
Lila and Garcia.
Garcia.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Okay. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about what they are going to experience at the hand of Natalie Walters' pen.
Really, they tortured me in this story.
Oh,
Let's
okay.
be
Okay.
honest.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
So if anybody has read the first books in this series, they have seen Lila and Garcia's story kind of progress. They kind of have had feelings for each other. They both kind of just tolerate each other. Lila likes getting under Garcia's skin. He just, likes to,
Hmm.
takes a stand against her rowdiness. And so this final book is sort of the climatic genesis of their relationship. So they
Okay.
are now forced to sort of recognize whether or not they can be together. So Lila gets is threatened by somebody that she has put into jail. And so instead of just like letting it go or letting the police department handle it or whatever, Lila is like, nope, I'm going to figure out why this is happening. I'm going to go after it. And then of course Garcia has no other option but to be at her side and help protect her. And
Hmm.
so Lila's sort of impulsive risk taking drives Garcia nuts because he's worked with explosives and he understands the ramifications of acting without thinking. And so
Right.
this story really just pushes them to address their shortcomings that they have with each other, with
Hmm.
themselves, and figure out if they are gonna make it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds
they're so
good.
sweet.
I love it. That sounds great. That's such a good, like, succinct synopsis too. You did a really good job of just,
Oh,
this is
thank
what the
you. Yeah,
story's about.
it's I feel like it's, I loved this. I love the story. I did not like writing it because they were two of the hardest characters. Just
Okay.
as stubborn as they were with each other, they were stubborn with me,
With
like
you.
trying to get them
Hmm.
to like, open up about themselves. And in
Yeah.
fact, when I tried to push the romance part too fast,
Hmm.
my early reader was like, nope, nope, they don't feel that yet. Nope, nope. I actually did like a whole reel on that because I was like, I had so many nopes, like, nope,
Nope.
nope, that's too
Nope.
fast, that's too soon. And because I wanted to get them to that point where they're like, okay,
Hmm.
you guys love each other, like push them together, make them kiss each other's faces.
Hmm.
And that is just not their personality as characters. And so it
Yeah.
was not, authentic to who they were. And so I had to wait, and it was painful, but it was worth it.
Yeah. Sounds good. Sounds good. So the book has them falling in love eventually, even though they're stubborn and, solving all the world's problems and saving everybody from the apocalypse. Because you
Yeah.
always have like intense storylines too. I mean, you don't just, hi, here's Lila and here's Garcia, and we need to somehow fit them together. It's like, let's throw them into mass chaos and everything that could possibly make their lives worse. We're going to times it by 10.
Yeah, I don't really know how to do uncomplicated.
Mm-mm, you don't.
Like, complicated just seems to be the way that my brain operates. Like, it feels like when someone tells me like, "Okay, just make the story simple." To me, I read that as flat. Like, the story is
Yeah.
flat. There's no depth to it. And I
Hmm.
think I just don't know how. I feel like there has to always be reason and things tugging and pulling. And so and this story really does, because I wrote the prequel novella Initium. I had written
Hmm.
that very early on in the series and decided to use that as like an introduction to the characters and the team, and then did not realize it until I started writing this book that it was all going to connect. So it's the first time I've ever connected like an overarching story to
Okay.
like, bring it all together. But
Yeah. Yeah.
so it turned into be a lot more complicated than I had imagined, but it wrapped up very well. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. So when readers pick up the book, they are going to find these characters and complexities. What was like your favorite part about this difficult book that you had to write? Like, was there anything fun that you researched, or you were like, "Whoa, that was kind of cool"?
So one of the things I thought was kind of cool researching was Garcia is an explosives expert. He
Okay.
was in the military as an EOD officer, and now he is the weapons guy in the team. And I had to look up like how to make a bomb. And
Oh,
so
jeez.
I it's not like it and
Yeah,
so
you are
yeah,
definitely flagged. Just want to throw that out there.
all of the watch lists.
Hmm.
So what I did not know is that there are actually competitions around the country on how to disarm a
Oh,
bomb.
okay.
And so that was actually really helpful for me when I'm describing the bomb or whatever, and I'm describing weapons on how,
Okay.
okay, wires and weights and trip lines and things like that.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting to me because I was able to actually find something that was on there.
Right.
Um, and then being able to kind of like dig a little bit deeper and looking at how the evolution of like explosive devices has changed from different like wars overseas, Desert Storm,
Hmm.
and to current
Yeah.
day how that's changed. And so
Yeah.
how that happened, so that was a lot of fun. And then I think I also there's a scene where the Lila invites everyone. She comes from she has a very strong family legacy, and they did fox hunts, but now fox hunts are kind of frowned upon because of
Right.
animal cruelty and stuff like that. So now they do what's called a drag hunt, and it's basically like they take the scent of like a fox or whatever
Okay.
out, and then everybody goes and does like it's the sporting part of it.
Right.
And so it
Right.
was really fun to be able to kind of learn about that and to imagine my team out there, with each different personality on a
That's
horse or
funny.
whatever, being able to do that. So it was fun to kind of create those scenes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, and I suppose that would just provide more platform for competition and stubbornness between your two main
Oh, for
characters.
sure. Like there's a little banter between the two of them before they take off, and you're just like, oh, it's on.
It's on. It is on between Lila
Yes.
and Garcia. There we
Yes.
go. That's pretty awesome. So when you were writing the book, did you have like a faith element that you were adding into the book, or is there a struggle that your characters are going through that readers will be able to walk through
Yeah,
with
so
them?
I think so they have so I think between Lila and Garcia, their struggle is different but mimics each other in different in the ways that it's speaking to them. So Garcia carries some guilt for his situation in his past, and having this whole, I've done something wrong and I have suffered the consequences of this, and I want to prevent Lila from having to go through the same thing that I have.
Mm-hmm.
And so his his struggle is to try to control her, to change her, and then
Okay.
realizing I can't change her because this is who she is. So now I have to figure out how I can adapt to her personality or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And where I feel like with Lila's storyline, for her, there's a lot of I had to really think about what would drive somebody to take continuous risks against their life, where they, because most people want to protect their life, like they want to
Right.
live, they don't want to
Right.
die,
Right.
and so but Lila kind of is missing that part of her brain, it seems like she doesn't,
Sure.
she just runs right in and then thinks
Okay.
about consequences later. And I think for her, what I realized when creating her and writing her was that she is pushing boundaries as a test of love. And
Mm.
so she's got this innate requirement, I think, in her, like if the line is drawn here and I toe that line, will my family still love me? What
Mm.
happens if I cross that line? Would you love me still?
Mm-hmm.
If if I'm doing the right thing but maybe not going the right way about it, would you love me? Is there anything I could do to stop you from loving me? And
Oh,
so
okay.
her family has really had to, to kind of, they've showed her that. So they've showed her that really unconditional type of love.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when she starts to realize, like, okay, if I open up my heart to Garcia, who really struggles with who I am, what happens if I get to the point where I do something and he can't love me anymore? Is it worth
Yeah.
risking my heart for?
Yeah.
And I think it, for me, like the spiritual element on that is to just think about how we can wake up in the morning with great intentions and we fail the Lord, we
Mm.
sin and we do stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
God still loves us. So, I'm not condoning going out and purposely being sinful and like pushing those boundaries,
Right.
but
Right.
I think there's such a great, such a piece of knowing that, like, if we do mess up, that there
Mm-hmm.
is grace and mercy for us, that came at the price of the cross. And
Right.
I think that I don't know, I just think it's just I think it's a sweet message on how people in the world can demonstrate God's
Mm-hmm.
love in a
Yeah.
very real way.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's important too to have those moments where you can see grace played out and then also see that unconditional love, because I'm sure there is going to be things that Lila does that Garcia doesn't necessarily approve of. And that fear of abandonment is really based on that conditional love that so many of
Mhm.
us have experienced in life from one person
Yeah.
or another. Um, and being able to have that exampled, um, or that example of unconditional love where, yeah,
Mhm.
no, I don't really like what you did, but that doesn't mean I'm going anywhere, you
Right.
know?
Right.
And that, like you said, it goes all the way to the cross, and then what Christ did
Right.
for us there, and
Right.
totally undeserved.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
you
like
know?
he loving her in spite of who she is. And
Yeah.
then, and I like that, Lila does recognize that she is taking risk and that she doesn't have to push those boundaries anymore because she can rest
Hmm.
in that knowledge to know. So,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's pretty awesome. Cool. So what is for readers who are wanting to read this series, do they have to start with book one? Can they start with Lila and Garcia? Is there an order that we should be promoting here for readers who may not have read the Snap Agency?
The Snap. Well, so it is a series, but I
Mhm.
do believe that the books can be read as standalones.
Okay.
However, on when you have romance involved, especially
Yeah.
with a team of characters, you're gonna have some spoilers in that. So if you were to pick up Blind Trust, you're going to know about Keikoa's relationship and you're going to know about Jack's relationship, so you'll have those spoilers. Plot wise, I think you're okay. If I was going to recommend anybody to read any book before they read Blind Trust, it would be the novella Initium, because that will wrap up that, that will kind of connect. So
Okay.
if they had to grab one book, and thankfully it's a novella, so it's a quick
Right.
read, so they have time between now and the release to read it.
A few days, quick, get your copy.
Real quick.
Everybody stop right now. Go order Initium. There you go. All right. And we're back. Now, Initium being the novella, does that would that be one of those things too that you recommend reading that before you read books 1, 2, and 3 of the series?
You don't have to. So I think what I liked about writing Initium was it's kind of a time split, which I have never done before. You're the famous one for this, but I wrote the story so it shows about the director Walsh. He is it's his story, and it's his story like a couple decades ago. And then it goes on to like how he started this agency, like why it came to be. And then it jumps forward to each member being recruited into the team. So I think it's a really great story to kind of give you just a tiniest bit of insight into like what was kind of a background. It doesn't tell you a bunch about the background of each character or each team member, but it gives you just a little hint that I think just maybe like flavors the stories a little bit,
Cool. Awesome.
a little seasoning.
A little seasoning, a little salt and pepper for you.
That little bam.
Bam. There we go.
A little Emerald Lagasse in the house.
Oh gosh, I forgot all about him. Didn't he do a toothpaste ad too?
I think he would do
a toothpaste ad.
I know he does a cooking machine thing.
Yeah. Well, anyway, for those of you interested in Emerald Lagasse, you can Google him. But if you're interested in following Natalie Walters, how would readers best get to know you and find you online?
I think the best place is on social media. I love hanging out there. So I'm on Instagram at Natalie Walters _writer, and on Facebook, Natalie Walters, writer. Or you can go to my website, www.nataliewalterswriter.com, and you can find the social media tabs on there as well.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks so much for being with us today. This was a blast.
Thank you for having me.
That pun was intended, considering there's bombs in your book. So there we go.
Explosive. It's an
explosive. It's explosive. Oh, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.